was a time in America when kids were simply kids. We didn't need sex education, carry guns in violation of all the rules. And kids were allowed to pray, and never were they led astray. Religious freedom was the rule, and God was still allowed. In school there was a time in America.
Ferranit, caring about people with my editorial app. I have a fantastic treat for you today. I have two gentlemen that were here on Staten Island who left Staten Island and went to find their ways in Hollywood. They are now back here today trying to tell you their story and what they're doing. They came here with a book that is unbelievable. This book is absolutely something that everyone should read. It's a bit of history. I want to thank Mr. John Merenda for being here.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And Mr. Marty McDermott.
You're very welcome.
Let's call him Butch, because that's the only other way I know. This is Butch, and this is John, all right? You know me, I don't do things the right way. It's got to be my way or the highway.
Buster.
Buster. All right, we're going to talk to John a little bit. John, tell us a little bit about Staten Island, where you were born and where you went and what was doing.
I was born in New Brighton, right on the corner of Jersey Street and Castleton Avenue.
Wow.
The house is still there. I lived in New Brighton until I was in my young 20s, 22, 23. Then I went to California. Went out there to find my career as an actor.
Find your way, right?
They're back here. No, I went out there and got involved in motion pictures, and I started writing screenplays and doing a little bit of acting work. Not a great deal, but enough to give me enough experience so that I wanted to write a book. And
Excellent.
I lived in Hollywood for 30 years. Then I came back here in 1993 and stayed here until 2006, and now I live in Florida.
Very good. Let's get to Buster. Okay.
Hi.
Buster, tell us where you were born and what's doing with you.
I'm a West Brighton boy.
Right.
New Brighton, West Brighton.
Where'd you go to school?
PS40 and PS18. PS40 is New Brighton,
Right.
PS18 West Brighton.
Oh, around that area. Okay.
Yeah.
Then what happened then? What did you do then? You became a cop, I know.
Yeah, I graduated high school, went to college for a little while, thought I'd be a lawyer, but it got to be a little too difficult, so I settled for a policeman for a while, got injured.
Right.
My friends like John and Mikey Castellano were out in Hollywood, so I went out to visit, and John here gave me my first part on a movie that he was doing.
Fantastic.
I was the stage manager of a production he was doing.
So you two then met?
He was married to my cousin before that.
Ah.
So when he came to California, I knew who he was.
Right.
He was a relative, we're family now. And I was, at that time, I had written a little movie called A Conviction, and I needed someone to play a part of a stage manager. And Martin was the ideal thing. And he did a wonderful job, Out of all the so-called successful actors that worked with me, Martin's work was just as good as anyone else's.
What astonished me is that he's still in the business, okay? And you both are still in the business, okay? And you have these kids today, which we were discussing before, that they go out there, they spend this money, they'll go always out to California and can't take the rejections.
Oh, boy.
Which this industry, I mean, if you got a major ego and to go into this industry, this is self-punishment. That's how I think of it. Isn't that aware with it?
Well, actually, SAG, when you first get into SAG, that's the Screen Actors Guild, they have a meeting for the new people, and they try to impress on you how devastating it is to be rejected so many times and how it works on your system. And I have to admit, sitting there as an ex-cop, I thought, "Hi, what could bother me?" But it's true. So many rejections. Just you just do one little thing wrong, or you know, there's another guy they like a little bit more, and you keep going to these different castings, and you come that close, and you promise things, and they never happen, or you end up on the cutting room floor. That's the worst.
Yeah.
Get up.
I did one scene in a movie for American Film Institute, and I was starring in it. And my best scene was my cat got killed, and it was the only thing that was precious to me. And I cried like a baby. And they had to cut it out because the cameraman was a little bit off on the focus.
Oh, God.
And I did such a one. I thought to myself, oh, I did such a one. And then when I seen the finished product, I wasn't able. So you never know.
That happens a lot too, doesn't it?
Well, I'm very happy to report that I think this book is going to make the next big, big movie. It's absolutely unbelievable. I read part of this book, I said, and I'm telling you right now, I read like a script. Did I not say that to you, John?
Did. Yes, you did.
It read like a script. Okay. Let's give a little bit about the history of the book and how you came to write this book. It's about the Civil War and the blacks in the Civil War, right?
Post-Civil War.
Post-Civil War.
Right.
Okay.
The Civil Raft 1, this book,
Right.
covers the period of 1865 to 1866. It's a 3-year period of time.
Right.
And during that period of time, it was the migration, it was the opening of the West, it was the freedom of all the blacks, it was the start of the Klans, it was the beginning of the first War Crimes Commission. That whole period of time was like a secret.
Right.
It was like America hid that period of time.
No one saw it.
Nobody saw it. Nobody knew what was going on. It was all under martial law. As the migrators were traveling across the United States, 90% of them never got across the country. They were either robbed, killed by clans.
Right.
Southern rebel clans that migrated into the Midwest and stopped you there. People going across, the immigrant Jews, the immigrants coming from all the other countries, bringing the wines and stuff there, trying to get across to California to grow this part of America.
Right.
Never made it. They didn't make it. The clans would wipe them out.
Okay.
Take everything.
So the
and
word
go.
Confederate
Rebels.
Okay, were really murderers and thieves.
Absolutely, marauders, murderers, thieves, criminals, deserters. They were all the riffraff of the South.
Take us to the beginning of this book where it starts where someone is going into meet a captain.
Right.
Okay. Can you give us how to start it? How did he get to be the one to walk in here? What happened before that?
Benson Crowley we're talking about.
Right.
Benson Crowley is from the Crowley clan. Crowley, kin, and clan. First KKK. And there was a group of family members that started this clan. They all deserted the South at the close of the war. They all deserted the South. And they set up an area where they closed up. Well, at that time, there was 3 distribution points for money, payrolls. And these distribution points were getting robbed regularly. And Benson Crowley, one of the Crowley brothers, had attacked a captain. And when they captured this Union captain, they found that he had plans for the money to be moved, and they were going to know which way the money was going to be moved. Well, instead of setting up a trap, Benson disguises himself as the captain, and he goes to the fort. At the fort, he gets command of the gold and 12 black men to help escort it. That's when the problem
So when he walks into the post, who's he walking in as?
He's walking in as Captain Mason.
Okay, because he's really a Crowley, which again he said to you is the KKK family.
Right.
All right. He's now walking in as Mason.
As Captain Mason.
Captain Mason. What was he doing there?
He was going there to do the order of delivering the payroll to Arizona. It had to go from Fort in north part of Colorado to Arizona.
Okay.
Had to travel through this
Across the
desert
west.
area, this deserted area that a lot of robberies were taking place, a lot of raids were going on, and they had already been robbed twice. Both times, all the soldiers were killed, all the payroll was taken. This particular payroll was a big payroll. It was $300,000 in gold, and it had to be brought to Arizona for the Southern men that were being let out of their service at that time, men that were mustering out of service.
Okay.
He's led into a trap. The 12 men are led into a debt trap. There's no way they can survive. Right. And they're led in by the
Well, we're not going to tell them the whole thing.
No, I don't want to tell them too much.
Okay. But we're going to start talking about some of the corruption that was going on around that time,
Yes.
okay? So it wasn't even where they had something to back them up. The whole corruption was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about politically, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wealth-wise,
Yes.
banks.
Yep.
They said slavery was over, but not really.
Nope.
Okay. There was nothing but the North, basically, but they still were in servitude because that's the only way they could find jobs.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Okay. They were after the Negroes, the Jews, and the migrant immigrants, you say?
Yes.
Okay. That was...
The Swedes coming into America. After the Civil War,
Right.
America opened its gates, and we brought in a lot of immigrants from all over Europe. The wine growers, the farmers, they all came in from Europe. Swedes, Czechoslovakians, your English, your British, they all started coming into America at that time.
Right.
Traveling across the country, a lot of them didn't make it.
Okay.
A lot of them were stopped by the clans.
All right. Let's talk about some of your characters, okay, without going into the book, okay? Benson Crowley, okay, was a war criminal and the rebel, right? And then he became who?
He portrayed to be Captain Mason
The
until...
good guy, a good guy.
A good guy,
All right.
yes.
And Willard, which was his first name, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, Willard is Crowley also. He's the brother.
Right, killed the real Captain Mason.
He killed Captain Mason.
All right. Now, let's find out who Emmett Smith is.
Emmett Smith is one of the 5 men that are driving the wagons to Colorado, from Colorado to Arizona. He's one of the drivers. He's a light-hearted guy, a black man, funny man, and he's just a driver on a wagon truck. He's just one of the men going with this convoy, escorts.
I was intrigued when I started to read a little bit about Colonel James Withers.
Winters.
Yeah, Winters. You want to talk to me a little bit about him?
Colonel Winters was originally stationed, after the Civil War, he got stationed in New York. When he was in New York, he was offered a position to go to Colorado to set up payrolls for the mustering out soldiers. And that's how he winds up going to Colorado. He brought some of the soldiers with him. One of the soldiers he brought with him was a sergeant named Moses Washington. He's primarily the whole story. Moses is a black man that's in an area where he's got 12 men with him. He's taking them down to deliver the payrolls, and he's trapped. He cannot get out of it. There's no way he can save himself or the men. But I don't want to tell you too much.
No, don't tell me too much.
That's
Okay.
it. That's enough.
Okay. Private Walker Lincoln.
Yes. Lincoln was an ex-slave. He also joined the cavalry right at the end of the war. So the war was over. He was a slave. He came up. The army was still looking for recruits. They took him in. He has a background story. The background story
Is in the book.
is in the book.
You're going to have to read the end to find out what's going on. Tell me about Little Joe.
Little Joe is a 5-foot-tall man that everybody was crazy in love with him. Little Joe could tell stories, and he had a million different stories. In the book, he tells about a half a dozen stories that are just hard to believe, but believable that they happened to him.
Okay. Willie Brown.
Willie Brown's another ex-slave. Most of the men that were on the escorts were either ex-slaves or runaway slaves. Right. One of them is a character called Moo. Moo is a 6'6" man that was from Jamaica, and he never considered himself a slave because he said, "I'm Jamaican, I'm not African." And of course, he's black, and to all the other black men there, he's black as them. They are.
So he's just as much stuck.
Yeah, but he was a cook. He learned to cook because he was captured and taken away by French traders and they taught him how to cook French food. So he wound up being the cavalry chef, and he can cook all these French meals.
Baldy Johnson.
Another strong man. Baldy was kidnapped when he was 10 years old, could not find his way back home. He ran away, got loose, and he tried to find his way back home. It took him years to work his way all the way to the north. And when he got there, the war started, and he joined right in the army. He was a cavalryman.
Sammy Jackson, is that right?
Sammy's, all of the 12 men that are part of the convoy, the escorts, were all either ex-slaves, slaves, or one of them was a man from New York City that was never a slave. That's Moses.
Okay.
He was never a slave.
So Moses wasn't a slave.
He was born in New York City, and he was never a slave.
So Charlie White.
Charlie White's a slave also.
And Moo, you just discussed, right?
Yep.
Big, tall. Philip Parson.
Another slave.
Okay.
Oh, you're reading off the men that are part of the escorts.
I want them to realize that this is the start, okay? In other words, all these black troopers, and they were called, okay? But Moses was supposed to leave soon, right?
Moses was getting discharged.
He was getting discharged, and they were going to go. So he got stuck into this thing, all right? And the guy who's going to go on is a murderer. I mean, the guy is a murderer. He killed people. So now they're going to try and kill these troopers.
Exactly.
All right?
Exactly.
And the troopers were there to protect the gold and stuff like that. And this is how you see that, to me, we're leaving you right now as they're walking out the front door of that fort.
Right.
What's going to happen?
Correct.
Let me tell you, this book is fantastic. Definitely. Movie material. A story like you wouldn't believe. And there is some love in there. Okay?
Oh, yes, there's a love affair.
Love affairs in here. Okay. There's so much in there.
There's love affairs, a coming of age as a young boy, a black boy, that an Indian woman, she loses her child. The day she loses her child, she's given a black child to take care of. And she breastfeeds him. She takes care of this baby like it's his own.
Right.
14 years later, she inherits a mine, a gold mine. She don't know what to do with it. The boy's 14. Her and the boy decide to go to California. That's where they meet Moses in the desert.
You know, John talks about gold mine. That's a gold mine for actors. All the characters in there are just
12 strong black men, number one, all right? It's not that little short guys anymore. I mean, when you go out to Hollywood, you've got these guys that are bodybuilders.
Yep.
I mean, there is nothing. I could picture 12 strong guys on horses, okay? You got two good Southern guys down there, and you got a couple of marauders. And, you know, there is so much going on there. It would make a good movie, all right?
Thank you.
So I'm really saying, listen, run over and get the book while you can, okay, because this thing's going to run out, okay? It's Civil Wrath, okay? Civil Wrath by John Merenda, okay? And now we're going to go to the man that does television and films.
That's true.
You do.
And
I hate to put it down, but I mean, he does both. He does both.
Theater all along the West Coast.
Theater.
From Oregon to California.
So tell us a little bit about television. What television have you been in for a while?
Well, it's, you know, old time.
No, that's right, but people watched it. You know.
Archie Bunker's Place and the Jeffersons, where I got my first card, my AFTRA card. And then from there, you get your SAG card, you know, the different guilds that you need to get into. I worked on Fall Guy. I've worked on so many TV shows that I...
But I have to ask you this carefully because I know you a good many years. Did you enjoy it? Really, really enjoy it? You know what I'm saying?
It's hard work. Like you'll see on all the interviews with actors, they'll all tell you it's a job. It's a hard-working job. You're up at 4:30 to 5:30 in the morning. You have to be there for makeup, hair, and they change the script. All of a sudden, you get a new page or two of script where you have to memorize right there on the spot. So and there's two things. you're either lucky or you know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's your two keys to get in the industry. Otherwise, it's a really tough, hard business. And all these kids out there got to understand it's really, really tough.
You know, summer stock, they
Yeah.
keep telling them they do summer stock and training. And there's all the training you want, and there's all the film acting school and everything like that, which is today. They didn't have it in when I was growing up in the 50s. They didn't have film acting school and stuff like that. But even then, I've seen television in the 50s, and you would sit all the patience of a saint for certain things. If someone's running a scene, you're stuck there from, like you say, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning till maybe 11, 12 o'clock at night.
16, 18 hours.
18-hour days, and they don't realize that. You know, they think they go in, run this scene, and they go out and give me $25 million.
Yeah.
It
No, it
don't
doesn't
work
work that way. You
No.
spend a lot of time before the movie, getting your part down. There's a thing they call the 5 W's, who, what, where, when. And that makes you understand the part. Where does a person come from? Who is he? Why is he in that scene?
Right.
Where did he come from? It's something that all actors learn. You go through your 5 W's, and then you have a basic of who your character is and where your character comes from, and then you approach your part from there. For me, I won an award on stage for comedy.
Go ahead.
My forte is comedy.
So that you enjoy.
Yeah,
That's your forte.
yeah.
Good.
I'm very good at comedy, and I'm very good on stage. I mean, it sounds like I'm bragging, but
No, that's not
No,
good.
they're not.
it's the truth, because I've had people when I've come off stage tell me, "Oh my God, you're the best I've been." The compliments, you get so many compliments, and then there's so much rejection.
Yeah, right.
Hey, that's
One
real.
compliment, 100 rejects.
Well, that's a part of the industry that I think the kids really don't realize. They think it's easy. And I feel bad because I'm talking about people like Lindsay Lohan and all. I'm talking about the kids that are coming up. They get big money and big success quickly.
Yes.
You know, and they really
Too much too
psychologically they're not ready for it. They're really not ready for it. They're out partying all night, and then they got to be on the set at 4:30 in the morning. Where do you sleep?
Right.
I mean, and you know, the point is, I don't think there's any way that anybody realizes or get prepared.
Right.
I'm saying there's no school that I know of to be prepared for it. You know, so that's my feeling. Now, let's talk about the possibility of this being into a script. Have you discussed anything yet?
Yes. I wrote the screenplay for this over a period of years, and just recently I handed it to a producer from Apex.
Okay.
Epix Productions. His name is Andre Joseph. He's done a couple of small movies, and he fell in love with the book. Contacted me, said, "John, you got to make a movie of this. You got to make a movie." I said, "Well, I've got the screenplay completed." And he said, "Let me see it." And he was at my house this morning telling me that he definitely wants to make the movie. He's going to see what he can do about putting a storyboard together, a budget together, and he's going to see, I don't know what I can mention the names of the people he's going to see. I don't want to do that, right? Okay.
I wouldn't anyway.
Because you might not receive them,
That's
right?
yeah, right. I wouldn't.
But he was at my house this morning, and he's really excited about it. I mean, he's really, really excited about it. Young man, has 2 movies to his credits at this time. I think one's called Priceless, and the other's called Dangerous Vendetta.
Can we tell people where we can get this book?
Yes. Google.com. Just put in the word Civil Wrath.
Okay.
And
So at Google.
it'll show you it's available worldwide.
Okay. So
Worldwide. It's available in an ebook also from PublishAmerica.net, Google.com, or Amazon.com. Any one of the major studios you can get it from.
Is this your first book, John?
Yes, it's my first book. It's not my first
Writing.
movie or story or
Yeah,
memoir,
let's
yes, but it is my first novel.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you've done before?
I was an actor. I was a writer. I produced a motion picture in Hollywood. I produced a couple for local channel here.
That we see.
I did a little one called the Staten Island Demon and the Staten Island Werewolf. here when I was in New York for a while. When I went back to California, I got involved in the writing end. I had backed out of the acting a little bit. I wasn't getting, like you said, too many rejections after a while you get gray hair. You say, no more rejections. I'm done. But then I wound up getting 500 rejections on the book. Then I found out what rejections were. You know, you go for a part of the movie, you go in and say, oh, we'll call you, bye. You send your book in for a review, they send you back, no thank you, die, go away. No.
You know, the fortitude to be in this business is going to be unbelievable. I hate to wrap up, guys, but 29 minutes has gone already, all right? Let me tell you, Buster, it's been a pleasure. It's been my whole dream to get you on here, okay? I'm so glad. I'm so happy you came for me.
I'll be with Arnold next time you see me.
Oh, listen, Arnold, I wouldn't trust Arnold with all them women, no way. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Two guys from Staten Island who came from Hollywood, from here to Hollywood and back. They're here to say thank you. Remember the book and remember Butch.
Buster.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
There was a time in America when kids were simply kids. We didn't need sex education, carry guns in violation of all the rules. And kids were allowed to pray, and never were they led astray. Religious freedom was the rule, and God was still